Hi everyone, welcome back to Scrummy. Today I'm making a batch loaf. A batch loaf is a lovely yeast bread. I have great memories of having batch loaf when I was younger. My mum bought one every week and we loved with butter and homemade blackcurrant jam. This is the first time I'm making one, so I hope it turns out as well as the one my mum used to buy. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop some yeast into a bowl. This is a fast action yeast, and just to show you the one I use, this is it, and it's really easy to use. So I've got some warm water here, it's tepid water, and I'm going to pour half of that into the yeast. Just leave that to one side because we'll need it later, and give that a good stir. And that's perfect. We're going to leave this now for about 8 to 10 minutes and then we can get started on making our bread. Okay, it's been 10 minutes, so into my yeast I'm going to add in some rapeseed oil. You can use vegetable oil either, and if you have beef dripping or lard, just melt it and use it and give that a mix in. And that's fully combined. Just going to set this to one side and get my flour in here. I've got Strown White Flour. You can use plain or all-purpose, but if you do, the texture will be a little bit different and you won't need to use as much water with those flours. So into here I'm going to add in a little bit of salt and I'm going to mix that in. And now I'm going to add in my oil and yeast. And I'm going to add in about half my water. I don't add it all because I don't know if I'll need it all, so add a little and then add some more if you need to. So give that a good mix in like that. And I'm going to need the rest of that water, so I'm going to pour that in there. The thing with water and Strown White Flour absorbs a lot more water than plain or all-purpose. Now, if you have a stand mixer with a dough hook, you can pop all this into it and let the dough hook do all the kneading for the 10 minutes that you need to do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do, that seems fine. I'm going to pop a little bit of flour in my hands and I'm going to bring this together like that. And that's great. Just get this out onto the worktop and pop a little bit of flour. And we're going to knead this. So it's very easy to knead it. You need to knead it with this part of your hand. You're just pushing it out like that. And we have to do this for 10 minutes until it's nice and smooth. It's not a difficult thing to do by hand. If you're going to get a really nice bread as well, it's definitely worth it. And that's ready now. You can see it's nice and silky and smooth. So I'm just going to set this to one side, get my bowl. So in my bowl I have just rubbed in a little bit of olive oil. That helps the dough to rise and also helps it to stop it from sticking. So I'm just going to get my dough in there. Just going to put a little bit of oil on the top. And you can use a damp clean tea cloth to go over it. I like to use some cling wrap and I've put a little bit of oil on the inside. So when the dough rises, it doesn't stick to it. So just secure that. And I like to place a tea cloth on top as well. I'm going to place this in a warm spot for now for about an hour and a half to 2 hours so that it doubles in size. It's important that you do put it in a warm place, otherwise the yeast won't react and the dough won't rise. So we'll see you back here in an hour and a half to 2 hours. This is ready now. It's doubled in size, as you can see. Just going to remove the cling wrap off it. And I'm going to reuse this later on. So just set that to one side. Now, you just need to knock the air out of this. So you just punch it in the middle like that. Get a little bit of flour and sprinkle it on your worktop. And get your dough out onto there. Just going to knead this a little, just to bring it together. And that's perfect. Now I'm going to divide this into 4 equal amounts. I'm going to cut across the middle, and I'm going to cut this in half. And that's about right. So I'm just going to get a little bit of flour, and I'm going to shape this into like a nice square, a nice even square. You want it nice and smooth on the top. You can pop it on the work surface either and just do that. You don't want any lines in your dough. And that looks fairly good. So just leave that there for a minute and get the second one and do the same. Just go like that. And I'll just bring in the edges underneath. And just shape that a little too. And I'm just going to set that over there for a minute, get my tin. This is an 8-inch square tin. I've lined it with some greaseproof paper, and you can see I've lined the tin a little bit higher than the actual tin itself. That's just in case these rise above there. So what I'm going to do now is get each of these into my tin. That's perfect. So you pop one in there. And when these double in size again, they will all join in together. And the fourth one. And there we have the 4 of them in there. Now what I'm going to do is going to just get my greaseproof paper, and I'm just going to pop it over the top of that. And I'm going to leave this in a warm place for about 45 minutes for these to double in size. Now it's very important that once they're doubled in size that we get them into the oven. So we'll see you in 45 minutes. It's been 45 minutes and these have risen really well. They've doubled in size, as you can see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of flour on the top. This is entirely optional, but it's nice to get that nice rustic look on bread. And just before I put them in the oven, I just want to show you a tip just so you know that they're actually okay to go in the oven. So if you press down on one of them and it rises back up, that means they're ready, they've proofed enough. If you press it and it doesn't come up, I'm afraid you've overproofed your dough. So we're going to get these into the oven, but there's one other thing I need to do as well when I'm putting this in the oven. So I'm just going to pop this to one side. And I'm going to get a deep tray. And into this, I'm going to pour in a couple of cups of boiling water. We're putting this in the bottom of the oven. Steam from this will help us get that nice, dark, crispy top on our batch loaf. So we're going to put this in the oven first, and then we're going to put our bread in too. My batch loaf is fully baked. I took it out of the oven about 15 minutes ago, so it's cooled a bit, but it needs to cool further, so I'll take it out of the tin. I'm really happy with it. It's risen really well. Look at my 4 cakes. Lovely brown colour on top. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this out of the tin, and then I'm going to let it cool for a bit longer. Look wonderful, don't they? Now those are my mini version of a batch loaf. If you've ever bought batch loaf, you'll know that they're about that size, but you need massive tins to make that size of a batch loaf. So we're going to let this cool now for a little while longer, and then perhaps we'll just take one of them off and we'll cut it up so you can see what the inside is like. Now for my favourite part, let's pull off one of these loaves. I used to find this so satisfying. We got to pull a batch loaf of a batch of other baked loaves that were all baked together, and the sides were by far the best part of the bread. Look at that, how soft that is. Nice crunchy top. Okay, so we're going to cut a slice of this now. All right, let's cut a couple of slices and wait till you hear the crunch. And another one. Look how soft it is, and all those little air bubbles in there too. This is how I remember batch loaf. And what better way to serve this than with some butter, beautiful Irish butter, and some of my friends' homemade strawberry jam. And that tastes really good, just how I remember it. Oh wow, that is really good. That brings back so many memories. The smell of that bread is just amazing. That crust is real crunchy and chewy, delicious, and it tastes just how I remember. Great memories of having this batch loaf when I was small. All right everyone, give the recipe a go and let me know what you think. If you've never used yeast before, why not try it out and just see how you get on. Once you make one recipe and you're successful with it, there'll be lots more recipes you're prepared to try. Okay everyone, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you all soon. Happy baking and enjoy. Bye bye.